Folks, we are live. How we doing? Friday night, and it's been a minute, hasn't it? A couple weeks since we've been able to get on the air, but we made it tonight. Why don't we give people a few to come on in, and we'll say hi to everybody who's popping in. Like, excuse me, got Joey. How are ya? Appreciate everybody popping in because tonight will be a doozy. So lots of stuff happening. Outlaw Kurt, alias Colonel Kurt, the little guy on the chicken bucket. How we doing? Amy, always good to see you in chat. We got Leonard. How you doing, Leonard? I even have your mug here somewhere if I didn't knock it off by accident. It's probably, oh, here it is. My PC died during the intro, so I had to knock a few things over to plug it in, but thank you again, and we are going to make this happen when we meet at one of these events this year. So I appreciate everybody stopping in. And tonight we have an unannounced guest with us. So everybody knows him, loves him. He's got some great insight into Bigfoot, the world of Bigfoot, what Bigfoot could be, what they could not be. And in a topic like tonight, we're definitely welcoming all the opinions coming around. So let's give a warm, couple of Bigfoot tree knocks to Mr. David Walker.
Hi.
How we doing?
We are good to go and good to roll.
Yeah. The internet connection sounds good tonight.
Good. So far, still good.
Yeah. Of course, when we get into Bigfoot, you know how sometimes we get zapped and one of us goes out.
Right.
So, hey, look, you got your own personal cheering section. Amy, hey, David, applause.
Yes.
Hi, this is Azadia. How we doing? Outlaw Kurt says hello to you. So, how you been doing? You all settled in the new place?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Tonight we have, for anybody who just popped in, but like looking at YouTube, who everybody popped in, hang around because we are going to be talking about. Oh, we lost Dave. Now we got to put him back. We are going to be talking about the Bigfoot community and the war that seems to be going on within. So as long as David's connection comes back, I might be going solo on this. We're supposed to have a pop-in guest later. We'll see how that goes. But Bigfoot community, to me, I'm going to put my own personal feelings on this out there. It's really tough to call it like, I guess every community's got their cliques and everything, don't they? So, that seems to be what we're diving into. Are we back, Dave?
Yeah, I bounced back.
All right. Just like a Super Ball. Throw it down and it bounces right back to you.
Yeah, now the speaker system is kind of funny. I can kind of like hear a reverberation.
So Dave might have some internet issues, but we're going to get through it. So, Dave, I don't know about you, but when I say Bigfoot community, I kind of use that term rather loosely because
I can't even hear him now.
Uh-oh.
What is going on with this thing?
How about now? Nope, he gone. So, community, Bigfoot. Like I said, I kind of use it loosely because it seems like we have a whole lot of if you want to call it a community, it seems like there's a whole lot of cliques in it, if you ask me, or groups, if you will, that are severely divided. There's Dave again.
Yeah, like I told you, this phone's just not cooperating with me, but I'll give her one more go.
All right, we'll see how it goes. So I was saying, in the Bigfoot community, we seem to have a whole bunch of divisive neighborhoods, if you will. We've got people that are very kind to one another, very loving. We have people that are also have their own theories and very hard fast and tend to be not so nice when they do this. And Justin Decker, hello, Justin Decker. And so we put up RIP Chuck Norris. Definitely. I cannot believe Chuck Norris is gone.
My favorite, one of my favorite actors.
Yep. He was the one that made me get into the little martial arts. And, hopefully he's resting in peace and working out on the total body wherever he wound up at. So if there's a gym in total body,
he was a good man. He was a good man.
Yeah. Chuck Norris was good. That's for sure. But isn't it weird how we've got a topic like Bigfoot, which is very niche to say the least, and yet there's all kinds of, are they apes? Are they aliens? Are they Nephilim? Do they mind speak? There's so many different things, and people get so hung up on their experience. And because it didn't happen to them, they don't think it happens at all.
Exactly. I had one guy, Brian, saying that I'm kind of a firm believer myself in portals, and I've had experience with that, and so I know. And my friend has too. He just didn't know what to call it. Yeah. And I told him, I said, "Man, you saw a portal," and he's like, "I don't think I wasn't a portal." I like that, but he did. He's seen a portal, a great big fiery ring right in front of him, within about 15 feet. And so he stopped and watched this thing for about, like, what was it, 3 minutes, and then it finally disappeared right in front of him.
What was it?
What was it? It was a ring. It looked like fire. Well, he described as fire. Now, he never seen nothing come in or out of it, but instead it looked different on the other side. What does that tell you if you know what a portal is described as?
Yeah.
He's describing a portal. I wasn't a portal. You can't tell me. So, like you said, I didn't argue. I said, well, that's what I kind of think it may have been. But, if you don't believe that, that's up to you. That's your opinion. And so I just kind of let that, but like you said, that just goes to show you the diversity that we're talking about here, and how people get really upset, super upset, if you don't agree with them on their opinion. Not granted, as we know, Brian, everybody has the right to their own opinion. If I say something, you don't agree with it, and I'm sure I have. You either question me about it, or just agree. This is what I like to do, Brian. Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And I think if we all would do that, we would all get along a whole lot better. And just take everything with a grain of salt. And the love of brothers is not worth arguing over a point like this over. It's not worth it.
No. And see, we got a point right here where, like Joey says, I believe Nephilim are their own beings separate from Bigfoot. And there's a lot of people who argue for and against that.
Exactly.
And they will get downright vicious. And then as soon as they get to the point where they go, they're this or this or this, you idiot. As soon as they call you a name, they're out a good argument. So
yeah.
But they'll resort to that. It's crazy how fast the name calling will start getting slung around.
Yeah, it's just like slinging mud or something like that. You're just slinging. You're when you're tearing somebody else down, you're making yourself look like an idiot too. To be honest with you, that's the way I look at it. Because if I don't agree, I'll just probably like get quiet or something like that. I'm not going to say, "Well, I got proof" and stuff like that, and holler and scream. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, Amy says it's not just Bigfoot community. I have noticed in the past couple of years, discussions have devolved into grade school playground name calling. And I mean people who are, were and are respected in the field. And exactly, that's the crazy thing about it is, people that I still hold, how do I put this? Eager to learn some of what they have to say, but don't necessarily respect them for how they say it.
Okay, yeah.
There
There,
because
there was a man that just recently died, high up there in the Bigfoot community, and I don't want to mention his name. Well, I guess I will. I'll mention his name. His name's Jeffrey Meldrum. We all know him.
yeah,
Wonderful man. He had, but his, and he never deviated from it. Was that we got an ape running around here that like it resembled gigantic, I think it's something like that. You know what I'm trying to say?
yeah, gigantic.
Yeah, it's descended from gigantic pecus, whatever. And he is all on the 100% natural. But this is what I say that I don't understand about that. If that is true, then how do these things have paranormal type abilities? How can this ape that's running around, even if it is 10 or 12 feet, how can that thing, being a natural critter, pull up trees out of the ground? I just can't see that happening. But anyhow, so me and Jeff, that's where I kind of like didn't completely agree with him in that situation. I agreed to disagree with Jeff. Other than that, the man had tremendous qualities, tremendous anthropologist. He did know what he was talking about. He knew footprints like the back of his hand, and so, and he was the one that I learned about the dermal ridges from, on the feet and stuff,
Mhm.
kind of like a fingerprint mark or whatever on them. And so there, hey, just because you don't fully agree with somebody doesn't mean you can't walk together. As long as you agree to disagree and love that person as they would love you, hey, let it go, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to me, it's no different than. Uh, I mean, I'll use my sister. I won't throw her under the bus by using her name, but smokes like a chimney. I don't agree with smoking, but I'm not going to call her names and keep shoving proof of it's so bad for your health and this and that in front of her face. I'm just gonna enjoy the time we have, and it's not much different because like I used to, I use the word used to very heavily, believe that like Meldrum, Dr. Meldrum, pardon the word there, that they were just Gigantopithecus, downsized. And so let's see. Anyway,
Yeah,
so yeah,
phone went blank again, but yeah, you can continue on. I was listening to you the whole time.
yeah, I was watching you pop up. So yeah, but you get so many people saying other things. It's like, how can I draw a line in the sand? That's like saying, you know what, the Titanic. If I said the Titanic never existed, I've never seen a picture of it. I've never been to it. Obviously, never been on it. That don't mean it's not there. You know,
Exactly.
it's there. Just other people have seen it and other, photographs. Blah blah blah. To me, Bigfoot's no different. I mean, I've seen a Bigfoot. Seen a couple of Bigfoots. I've got tracks. I've got pictures. But if somebody else hasn't seen one, or because that particular Bigfoot didn't mind speak with me and did somebody else, how am I to say? I can say this one didn't do it with me, but I can't say they can't do it.
Yeah, it's like the mind speaking. When I had my encounter, remember I told you It was standing like 5 feet away from me, and it kind of tilted its head. And I said, I could just hear what it was saying. WTF, do you think I'm scared of you, boy? And that's just exactly what I heard in my head. Now, did he say that? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe, I don't know. But I have heard of people, not only can they telepathically speak to the individual that's in the encounter, but according to some people, and hold on to your hats, they can talk to them and kind of conjure them up with their voice. They can request their presence and almost order them there. Say, "Hey, Bigfoot, I want you to appear before me," and they have appeared according to the witnesses. Now, if that is true, and again, I don't know, and I'm not even going to try it, but if that is true, we're not talking about a natural animal here. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. And I knew with this topic that we are doing tonight had been out there for a little while. We were going to do this. We were going to get some hecklers in here. So, you know what? I'm going to entertain them. And says, do you wipe or let it crust? And I'll just say, I let it crust because it's easier and you don't smear it. So I'm not banning anybody tonight. Please hit the like and share button. That's the kind of post I like. And ring that bell. And if possible, folks, come back, leave a comment afterwards. Because leave your thoughts on what's going on. Because organizations I remember watching on YouTube who stuck to the very basics. At the time had 1,100 followers, much bigger than I have, obviously, but still, now they're into the hundreds of thousands. And it just seems like they've narrowed their focus in what they're willing to talk about and not willing to talk about. And will actually go out of their way to try to belittle other people who do think that way. There's like a superiority complex going. And I'm sorry, until Bigfoot comes out and sits down and hands me a Bud Light and a jar of, Jiffy peanut butter, or no, backtrack. Let's say this. For Tom Cottrell, rest in peace, till he comes out and shares a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Diet Pepsi with me, we're not going to know exactly what they do, can't do, what their language is. No.
That, my friend, is funny. That I'm sorry. I couldn't help but laugh on the Kentucky Fried Chicken.
That was what Tom told me to do. And you know what? It did work to go out. He said, go out with a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Don't take recorders and cameras and everything if you want an experience. And so in honor of him, I took a Diet Pepsi out, a small thing of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and turned around, and it was about a half hour we were out there, and then we wound up getting a couple tree knocks. So it panned out. So thanks for Tom. Well, let's see.
There I am.
See, and Linda was with me that day, and so she can tell you, and says it worked.
Did you have the Bud Light?
No, I haven't had a drink in a couple of years. We had the Diet Pepsi. That was Tom's favorite drink. So we took a Diet Pepsi out in memory of Tom.
Oh wow, man! I love it, man. Now, if you can get documentation on that Bigfoot eating that chicken, I'll just about believe anything.
Yeah, really. No, now we got to remember, I got in trouble for feeding them, so we ate the chicken. I'm not saying that the bones may not have been left behind, allegedly, but the meat on the bird got ate.
I love it. You see, you got to be able to have fun with this subject, Brian. It can't be all seriousness. You got to, just like you said, that Kentucky Fried Chicken, maybe boil a cup of good old hot coffee, Folgers for Bigfoot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's some of the simplistic ways, if they know your intentions are pure, I think they come out and say hello, or at least,
We're talking about gifting, huh? Gifting.
yeah. Joey says GIF, of course. But the funny thing is, this is one of those positions where I could sit here and argue with people, um, with peanut butter, the fact that they wouldn't eat the crunchy stuff when we put it out, never touched it. Yeah, other people have done it and they ate the crunchy, but I'm not going to sit there and call them names and say this and that because they ate their crunchy, not mine. So I don't understand. I mean, why do
Do
you
you see
think
how funny this is? I mean, really.
it, it's comical on a level, but when you get like a larger group now, like certain groups on YouTube going out of their way and then pulling all their friends in to gangbang on some up and coming channel that may actually have some good things to offer, and then they just crush them because they get so dis, disgruntled and angry with the hate they get because people are trolling them. And nowadays you got fake accounts so they can double troll you, and it's just,
And then if you do have some legitimate evidence, they say, that's AI, that's AI. And so,
yeah,
how are you going to prove anything, even with pictures or video?
yeah. AI is a really hot topic right now. I mean, not only in the Bigfoot world, because um, the images they're creating. I mean, this lost film that's got a picture of standing with a bunch of Native Americans from 1812 miraculously appeared. It's like, come on. So that AI is going to make things very difficult as far as even video. I mean, they've come so far. If you think, because the military has basically 10 to 15 years of technology ahead of what the public has. So imagine what they can do with AI right now.
I've seen military AIs, and I tell you what, I can't tell the difference between that and a regular video.
Yeah, see, Force Run has what I like to do is I try to learn from everybody. You
Mm,
know, it's
mm,
listen to what they say, and even if I try it and it doesn't work, that doesn't mean it's not true.
exactly, exactly.
That's like
um,
as
but,
far as the mind speak, there's only been one time I can think of where it might have happened, but I couldn't tell you for sure if that was when I went to hit the horn when the one was standing in front of my car. And when my hand was above it, something told me if I hit that horn, it's going to be a really bad night. And so I stopped. But I don't know if it was Big Boy telling me or my inside little chicken saying, don't do it, you know.
exactly.
It's crazy. And so, I mean, I, I struggle to even find out why people would do this as far as just trying to crush the up and comers. Is it because of the clicks? Is it because of the views? David's got a solid blank. Closed eye look, so his phone is out. I mean, we got a few people hanging out in chat. Let's get your opinions there on what we got going on. Why are people so hell bent on?
Well,
You
you're
know,
asking the group of people.
I asked them, and we'll see if anybody comes up. There's a big elephant in the room. Bigfoot Outlaw did put a post up about it, and I recommend going to read that because it's worded better than what I can say. So if you go to the uh, Bigfoot Outlaw page, TikTok, Twitter, he did put a post up about it, and I'm gonna leave it at there and see where these chips fall. But
Right. Hey,
So
Brian,
somebody says, "Do I think I will see it?" Yes, I'll watch it.
if you don't mind,
Yeah,
I could tell that story about that quantum physics.
yeah, because that's another thing, and we'll get into why quantum physics comes into it.
Exactly. And so, this lady, when I will obviously will withhold her name, I can still remember her name. And it's been about 25 years ago.
Nah, come on, Dave, dox her. Let's dox somebody. I'm kidding.
She, she was going.
Oh no, we got zapped. Oh, there he is. Force run. The question was, why do you think that some of these people, especially bigger YouTube channels and Facebook groups, tend to attack and basically try to crush some of these up and coming YouTubers and researchers because their views don't align with theirs? I mean, what possible reason is there not to even just listen to them to hear them out? So that's my question. Is it for the notoriety? Is it to have a monopoly on all the Bigfoot information? Is it so that people who have experiences don't go anywhere else but to them because they're the big thing? Justin Decker jealousy. That's a great answer. There's Dave. Oh, we're getting some answers, Dave. Let's find out here. Oops, take this one down.
Yeah, yeah. Just give me. I might only have a few minutes, but
Yeah.
let me tell that story,
Yep.
and I think it'll be well worth telling. Anyhow, this lady was going to work, and she was running late. Obviously, she was speeding to get there, and so she's going up the hill. As she looked to the top of it, there's some trees right there on the ridge line, and so she could only see one direction. So she's in a hurry. She went to that place all the time and never really encountered any cars except maybe one time. So she thought, "Hey, I'm running late. I gotta get to work. I only got like 2 minutes, and it takes me 4 minutes generally to get there." So she's flying. She goes to the top of the hill, and as she get to the top, she sees this Amish buggy. She's in Amish country, Sugar Creek area, Baltic, and she, she sees this buggy is in front of her about 200 feet. She's going 70 miles an hour. What's she going to do? So obviously, the only thing she could do was slam on the brake. She slammed on the brake. Her car went sideways, and it went went to go right where that Amish buggy was. And she braced for the impact, but there was no impact. She went through that thing, down over the hill, still with the brake on, so her car eventually slid to a stop. Now she don't care about being late for work. She wants to know why it happened.
Mhm.
How did this happen to where? And she looked back to the top of the hill. There's Jeff the Amish buggy. She walks up there, probably about 100 feet, and she says, "Sir, are you all right?" And he looked at her and said, she said his face was about white, ashen white. And he said, "Yeah, I'm all right. Are you all right, ma'am?" She said, "Yes." He said, What just happened?" And she said, I don't have a clue." And so she said, "But as I neared that and saw that buggy, in panic mode, I cried out, 'Oh God!' And she didn't hit him. Now I know to the people that are listening to this, they're like, "Yeah, yeah, she just telling a big tall tale." And that's what I would have thought, but this woman wouldn't tell a lie if her life depended on it. I'll vouch for that even to this day. Very devout church lady. You wouldn't say, she wouldn't say shit if her mouth was full of it. So you understand now where I'm coming from. Why would you tell this story and lie about that? So if she is telling the truth, what happened? Well, if you believe in God, you read the Bible, you probably say, well, that sounds like a miracle to me. And you would be 100% right. However, God did it. She is into that quantum physics. And I kind of looked it up before I got on the show here. And to put it real short and sweet, quantum physics is matter redistribution to the point of matter existing in multiple states. Now, what exactly that means, Brian, I don't really know. But I suppose that it is possible that it could be when that matter changes, that something like a car passing through it could very easily happen. And if God used that, He used it. If He didn't, then you got a miracle of a biblical kind going on. Either way, um, you have your Amish faith, and I don't agree with it. I don't see how they come up with some of the things they do. But as far as the Amish life, I they got something going on. That's good, plain and simple. Anyhow, whether that has anything to do with um, the quantum physics part, I don't know. Maybe one of your viewers, can know more about that. Maybe they can add something to that. But I wanted y'all to hear that before my phone went on the blink again.
No, and that when you start talking quantum physics, Ron Moorhead has touched on it, and I really need to order his book, because when you start putting quantum physics, like with what you happened and the Bigfoot thing, it's interesting, because I can't speak for you. You can tell me after this, but there's been times I've followed trackways, and then you come to the end, there's one track, and then you look around, it's like, where'd it go? There's no
There you
tree.
go.
There's nothing on the ground, even though the ground is more than ready to take a footprint. So, um, did they manipulate that matter in a way so if it exists in many states, not only solid, water, air, heat, gas, were they able to manipulate it in such a way into an energy that they didn't leave tracks after that? To me, and people ask, well, why would they do that? Right? That's the big question I get. And to me, that would be a great way of leading somebody on a false chase. Our house is over here. We're going to lead him over here, and then we're going to leave him one track scratching his head. So, catching up on some comments. Folks do get so entrenched over the years with their beliefs and viewpoints to challenge that it's often seen as a threat. Yeah, Amy, you're right. And especially to the point where people take it personal. I mean, they take Bigfoot, and all of a sudden they've made it such a big part of their identity that if you're challenging them on what they believe, that you're challenging them. And to me, that's when you take it that personal, there's a problem. To me, that means you're either A, hiding something you don't want to come out, B, you're relying on your YouTube AdSense and views and clicks to get you booked to other venues, and you're banking on making money off your books. You're banking off making money off personal appearances. So basically, you're threatening their livelihood by questioning their beliefs, and so they can't accept yours either, because it may differ from what's in their pocketbook.
Yes.
Or what's truly in their heart.
Also, Brian, I talked with another man, and I'm not going to say his name for obvious reasons. They're on TV all the time. Uh, CB is his initials, and that's as far as I'll go with it. But on a big Bigfoot show, goes to all the conferences, and he took a picture with me. I had my first book, The Ohio Monster, and I was telling him, I said, what about this thing could be some type of supernatural entity that can pose and can actually take physical form as well. He looked at me and shook his head. He says, you'd have to be one of the type of guys, huh?" I was just one of the type of guys. He goes, the woo woo woo. He said, no, no, we don't believe in the woo woo woo. He said, this is an actual physical being. It makes physical evidence. That's it. If it's something supernatural like a ghost, it's not going to be making evidence, sir. So he said, no, I can't. What's what I'm looking for? I can't accept your belief, or I can't promote your book because we have differences of opinion there.
I know exactly who you're talking about. And it's ironic you bring that name up because I almost had a coworker of his on the show with us tonight.
Oh,
I'm not going to say which one.
Right.
Yeah, we were talking, and if schedules would have aligned, this would have been a blow
Yeah,
up.
and I said to him, I said, sir, of course I called him by name. I said, so if you're in my story, and I said, you've read it, haven't you? Yeah, I read it. I said, how do you explain only finding or finding 12 tracks and then there's no more tracks after that on top of a hill where there's still a logging road with muddy dirt and there's no more tracks? I said, so what do you say happened to the critter or the creature? And well, I don't have all the answers. I said, and neither do I, but sometimes I said, I think you got to think outside the box. Well, we don't go into that supernatural realm because that really takes you down a rabbit hole you know, that doesn't make any sense. So we stay in the natural realm, sir. So I appreciate your story, though, and good luck with your book.
Yeah, and to me, right there, it says it takes you down a rabbit hole, but who's not to say the rabbit hole leads to daylight at the end of it?
Aha. Good one. Good one there.
You can't, like I said, everything to this point is we have enough evidence we got more evidence to convict Bigfoot than we did OJ, and we had plenty enough to bury him. So we just haven't had the right jury yet for our Bigfoot evidence, kind of like that jury.
Right. We just ain't got the body yet.
That's the one that gets me. I wish, I'm not going to say it doesn't need to come to that, but I wish it didn't need to. I mean, what's the name of that? The Tasmanian tiger over in Australia, the Phalazine.
I can't think of that. I know what you're talking about.
I know it's the Tasmanian tiger, and we supposedly put it in extinction, but now they're seeing, and there's been stories around for years, but they've actually got a couple good photos of it. So now they're on the verge of calling it not extinct. It's like, well, they're not going to ask for a body for that. Why do we have to have a body for Bigfoot?
Right.
We're going off the same evidence.
Keep on talking, Brian. I got to recharge my phone.
Yeah, no worries. I can talk all night. Might not be about all Bigfoot. So yeah, Bigfoot do things that people see, people experience that don't always jive with just being natural and just innate. I mean, they have their own language, thanks to Ron Moorhead and his friend. We know that's been analyzed how many times over, that it's got tone, it has syllables, and The vocals are out of human range, so we know Bigfoot has a language. And we also know that Bigfoot has, we know telepathy is the thing. Thanks. Justin Decker's in the back in the chat. So Justin Decker actually did a really, really fascinating show. So go back to Down the Rabbit Hole and look for Justin's show on telepathy and how even the Smithsonian and a couple other big name museums did this experiment, and actually they're not convinced enough to say yes it is, but the results were said, yeah, we need to look into this further because the results were so positive. They had somebody in Paris thinking about a word with somebody in another country, and yet somehow that other person picked up that word, popped in their head, and they're like, pool. And they wrote it down because they were in separate rooms at the time in different countries, yet they got that word right. So how can we say that Bigfoot isn't an expert on telepathy or mind speak? And their
Well,
way of,
here's the thing on that, and I get you 100%.
see, Justin.
There's just so all these things, Brian, that we're talking about. Like if I would put it in a conclusion, and I know this sounds like, again, I'm beating on something, and I'm arrogant in my belief or nothing, but it's worth to explore. Is all these things that we're talking about, molecular manipulation, distribution of weight, so there's no more tracks or whatever, um, teleportation, maybe going through a portal. Let's just say maybe entering another dimension, or they're coming from another dimension, and possibly, again, all these things that we're talking about have question marks behind them because there's not really any 100% concrete answers. And I'm always willing. Hey, y'all got opinion? I want to listen to it. And I would love for people to listen to my opinions too before passing judgment. You know what I'm saying? All these things can be explained if you look in toward that paranormal supernatural realm, because something is giving these creatures an ability that far exceeds any natural creature or animal that we know of. How can Bigfoot just up and disappear?
Yeah.
Goes behind a tree, sticks his head around, you see it, puts his head back, you go to the tree, you look around, he's gone. Now, do you know any other animal that can do that? And if you do, please tell me, because I want to know. But I don't know of any. So if they have all these paranormal abilities, there we go.
Yeah, and people will try to explain that, and I think sometimes it could be the case, but not all the time, where somebody will see one from a distance, it goes behind the tree to break the line of sight, and then it takes the person too long to get to the tree to look around, so then they are convinced that it didn't run away. But then there's times that people are just too close to go up, look around the tree, and it's not there. So Survivor Man, Justin's talking about. Let's see. And that did, if I remember right, there was some interesting footage that just came out where Survivor Man might have actually caught one hiding behind some trees. And
Is that Les Strad?
yeah, where they caught one hide. He was, holding the camera, walking, and then they all of a sudden they go back over the footage and they see a huge head and shoulders just a few feet from him.
Exactly.
I mean, everything's are explainable. It's just whether or not you're willing to accept the explanation that's given. I mean, for me, I like to follow the facts, form my opinion on the facts, but at the same time, my opinion's not etched in stone. My opinion is open to change because if new facts arise, then we have to look at the new facts. And
Yeah.
if,
Yeah. I mean,
oh wait, Justin said Les had mind speak too, so I didn't know that. I haven't seen that part.
we're what now?
I guess Les Stroud had mind speak happen.
Okay. Okay.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Um, well, I think it was Les Stroud also that was in, if I ain't mistaken, Washington State, and they're walking through this, getting close to the Mount St. Helen, and that's where they found that great big tree, huge tree, planted in the ground upside down with the roots up in the air.
Yeah.
So again, can someone tell me how that would logically happen unless this animal is beyond what we think it is?
Right. In Alaska, that happens quite a bit too. He's upside down. And I actually had, and Linda in chat can verify that one day we were out walking and we were toward the top of a bluff, looking around. And all of a sudden we look up and we see a root ball in the air. And it's like a 8 or 10 foot cherry tree. Look around, can't find anywhere where it would have been pulled from or even a cherry tree close. Yet something, and not too far from it were 19-inch imprints. Like it had walked over, pulled a tree up, dragged it a while, and then stuck it and said, "Look how big I am." And you know what the funny thing is about that too is that's the only time we ever found 19-inch prints out there.
Oh.
The other time we find 19 or 17 and 23. So I think maybe a young little ambitious male was walking through saying, "Look how big I am," and then Papa, the big man with the 23-inch foot holders said, "No, you can go away."
My friend, a co-author of my book, Richard McCanley, he had a he went up. He was working on a gas line for a gas company. Went up to just put the markers up there on the hill. As he was walking up, he noticed that all these pine trees, a whole bunch of them were stripped bare onto the top of the hill. And then he looked a little bit farther, he saw a great big like hut. Looked like a hut. And he's like, this is strange. And the limbs were ripped up to about 10, 12 feet high. And that's where they stopped at. And all this hut. Well, praise the Lord anyways.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's, people have these experiences. Sometimes there's just, you have to dig deep, but you shouldn't be. I mean, questioned, yeah. Of course, everybody's going to have questions, but to be ridiculed and think people, you lost your mind, and then just have some big channel come by and he's nothing but, a liar. He's an attention seeker. They're looking for this. They're looking for that. For what?
Yeah.
I honestly think, I think we would further the research by at least 10 years if everybody could come together, be willing to put ideas out there, and not just get slammed because of your ideas, because they don't align with something else.
Exactly.
I think there's room for everybody to have something. And honestly, this is my opinion only. I honestly think it's greed, because they're the ones that want to go to the Bigfoot shows. They want to be the guest speakers. They want to be on the TV shows, and if they can sound the most logical and grounded in their beliefs and evidence, and, we're throwing this evidence out. Yeah, it may have happened, but it doesn't align with what our narrative is. we're going to make it on travel TV. We're going to be on Expedition Bigfoot. We're going to be on this. So it's all about the wallet, which is sad because it should be about the Bigfoot and not about the big cash.
Yeah, exactly. And I've talked with those people. The guy on the expedition, Bigfoot. I can name the guy's name. I want to name his name, but you know, I talked with him. I had a booth right beside of him, and he was selling these little Bigfoot monster figurines, and he had a couple of books out there in his page. People were coming up taking pictures with him because he's a celebrity, and I think that figures into a lot of their philosophy is hey, it's more fame and prestige and who you are than really about the Bigfoot subject. And so we want fame. Fame equals power. Fame equals acknowledgement. A lot of things that you can go with that. And I think people get off on a tangent that I am somebody. That's why I'm on this show, and then they feed off of that like an ego. If I'm saying the correct terminology, they feed off that ego trip. And hey, let's just say we're all sitting around a round table. We're talking about just like we are right now. We're talking about these subjects of the diversity issue of Bigfoot and different camps that people are in, and how you know why can't we just all get along? Remember back in the '90s where that Rodney, I forget his last name, but Rodney was his first name, and they really beat him, and they made a racial incident out of him, and
Oh, right.
the guy just about died. But one thing, he came and he was all bruised up, his face was, and this is what he said, and it was the greatest statement he could have made. Why can't we all just get along? And in the Bigfoot world, Brian, I think that's true too. Why can't we just all get along? So my opinion differs from yours. Okay, let's agree to disagree. And what about this story here that somebody said about this? And let's go on and talk about other things. Let's not just beat somebody up because he never mind spoke to me. He never telepathically spoke to me. So I've never seen a portal before. And so you dismiss the whole entire thing as a sham, and you hold it against that person.
Yeah, there was when people just aren't open to stuff like that, it always takes me back to a story about one of my people I used to watch growing up, John Edward. He's a medium, and in his book, he was talking about how when he was trying to get into things, and Rodney King, yeah, and people weren't open as much to it as they are now. And when he went in to talk to this guy, the guy had an attitude. You could tell he didn't believe. And John, whipped out a couple things that made the guy drop his mouth a little bit, but then he got cocky. Oh, you just got lucky. You're doing this. And then he wanted to say, you know what? Your mother's coming through and she thinks you're a real butthole. And the
And,
same thing here. It's like, keep your mind open. It's even if you don't, there's no reason to personally attack someone because let's face it, there are hoaxers out there. There are people doing it for attention or people who will try to trip up the expert, you know, just like the whole Gable film with the dog man. He wound up making it to the History Channel and it tripped up a few experts and it was kind of crazy. But the difference between hoaxing and what the Bigfoot community is. See, and that's one thing the Bigfoot community should be able to bond over because of all their experiences together would be able to get rid of some of this stuff. Oh, we lost Dave again. But be open to other people's ideas, listen to them. You don't necessarily have to uh, smack them upside the head with a 2x4 like a tree knock if you don't believe it. But I believe the post said, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the community needs to figure out a way to take their wallets out of the equation, take their egos out of the equation. And I think the whole Bigfoot mystery would probably be solved a lot faster because if I'm out looking for Bigfoot with Bigfoot on the brain, and I'm only looking for certain signs because I think this person is full of crap that they leave this or that they do this, that's tree structures man-made, so there's no way that's Bigfoot, so I'm going to ignore that. There's so much you miss that if you actually combined the totality of it all, we would have a much better understanding of what's going on out there.
Exactly. I mean, if you're out there in the woods and you're really wanting to find Bigfoot, there are what we call wood structures. Oh, it's another name for it now.
Tree
But
structure.
anyhow, like like a teepee or
Yeah.
made with sticks or a great big X marking a spot where you're not to go anywhere past that. Or maybe there's some long sticks laying on the ground that look like arrows and they're pointing a direction. Um, wood talk. That's my friend Richard McCanley actually talked with a man that kind of knew exactly what this stuff meant. He taught him. And so, you find these things out there and you're like, did somebody try to make a tree house or a blind? But it doesn't look like it because there's no roof for it. It's going to get wet if it sits there. So there are different things that they leave behind, other than footprints, that you can visualize, connect with the creature. So you don't have to blindly go out. But if you do, I would tell you go to a national forest. I don't know why, but in the national forest, that's where most they have been finding encounters with we'll call cryptids. And
Yeah.
cryptids can involve Dogman, Bigfoot, Mothman, the little forest people, uh, puckwedgies, fairies, and the list just goes on and on and on. So if you really want to find one, this is what I would do. Go out in the national forest, go to a camping ground, kind of like the land between the lakes. We all know what happened there or what allegedly happened, correct?
Yep.
But the dog man tearing that family apart, and we're not going to go into the details of it, but I think everybody's probably familiar with the story I'm talking about. But anyhow, you go to one of the camping grounds. If you do have a camper, fine. If you don't, pitch a big tent, put you a fire out. And I guarantee you, if you don't, you can set some cameras out if you want to, but it's not necessary. If you don't actually go out looking for Bigfoot, Bigfoot will come looking for you. Because guess what? He doesn't like fire. And so when he sees fire, he usually comes and investigates them. Very good pointer to someone that's really looking to have an encounter with one of these. That's how I had my very first encounter. We was out there having that fire, just camping out, and went to bed. 1 o'clock in the morning. 15 minutes later, we heard them foot cracks around the tent. Snaps to break. Oh yeah, snap. Twigs snapping and breaking, and it got pretty creepy and scary fast. So I'm just giving people pointers. If you want to find Bigfoot, follow the advice I just gave you. And another thing, if you run into Dog Man, don't move fast at all. Very, very slow. Slow as molasses on a cold December day.
Yeah. Unacknowledged, unknown, said tree signs, but he calls it wood sign, which would be, I guess, more encompassing for what we see out there. And he says, I sadly call it the anti-community because we should be able to disagree, which you should, you know. I think Bigfoot likes creamy. Somebody else may think he likes crunchy. It's one of those debates. I think they leave tree signs. Other people think it's deadfall. You know, Justin Decker and I, before he had his stuff go on, we had a little back and forth going and, playing with each other on the whole deadfall and tree structure thing. I had a lot of fun with it. I think I made him giggle a few times on air. So, but that's the thing. You should be able to have even a little fun making ribs here and there without getting personal.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to take down David Walker because, Bigfoot's never walked up to my tent. And you're not trying to take me down because of the fact that you never fed him a jar of, peanut butter. So we should be able to listen to each other and learn.
I should have put out a jar of Jiffy peanut butter, creamy peanut butter.
Creamy
Because
peanut
he don't
butter.
like the crunchy kind.
See, Justin will even tell you, yep, he and I had a little banter going on. We had some fun with it.
Exactly.
So, well, as they would say, well, I'm going to let you end it because I'm going to say the typical, from coast to coast and around the world. I hope everybody has a good night. But what should we all do, in the words of Rodney King, Dave?
I do believe. Let's just all try to get along.
And with that, everybody have a good weekend.